Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I am doing an unboxing, in inverted commas, of my new Sizzix Big Shot machine. Now, I personally always find it really dull when I see an unboxing video and you see the person slitting the box open and everything, because, you know, I only want to know about the contents. So I've done all of that part already. This literally came just in some card that was holding the machine like this. The plates were in a separate bag with a little plastic bag that had a little wrench thing, this little cap, the handle, the washer, the screw, and then all you needed to do was really simply just take the little, there was like a little plastic cap over this, you take that off, you pop your handle on, you put your washer and your nut on and your little thingy in, and you just wrench it till it's nice and tight, and then you put this little cap on top. Now, as on previous Big Shots that I've had, this cap comes off. My little aqua one there that you've seen me use for years, it's gone, I've lost it. This is doing the same thing, literally it pops off. I did find when I tightened the little nut thing up a bit more, it was better, but it's really only there for decoration. It's not protecting anything. It's not. This I found at a really, really good price. I noticed, and I would definitely recommend, especially, obviously I'm mostly talking about pricing here in the UK, but for example, on Crate and Craft, it was over £100, and that was with my 10%. That was at the time I looked. I don't know, prices obviously change. However, at Hobbycraft, this was £54, and that was free post, so it was 54 exactly. I mean, that is a crazy difference, and I have to say that was the cheapest by a mile that I found it. And yes, it doesn't come with all the little extra dies, so if you're brand new, you might think, oh yeah, I need that embossing folder, I need that die. You don't. Buy ones that you like. Don't spend like 50 quid more for a die that's probably only 12. You know, buy them yourself separately and choose the ones you like. Any thin dies pretty much will go through. I've never found one that doesn't go through the Big Shot, basically. And also those big chunky big dies go through it as well. So, you know, you're pretty much, with this machine, it will take pretty much anything except for the really big wide dies, like an A4 sort of size, and for that have got a big machine, but to be honest, I don't use it that often. This covers pretty much 95% of what I do with my die cutting. So my recommendation, if you're new, go for the bargain price of the machine. Don't necessarily worry about the accessories. So the machine itself today, obviously, as previously, it comes with plates. However, they are very different to the past. On the previous occasions, I'm just grab this for you. This is what it came with. This very long base plate, and it had these kind of pages for different things. So if you were doing embossing or die cutting, depending on what you were doing, you would turn it and you would open it. So then this bit would be hanging out the back, so you had to make sure you had a lot of space. And I never ended up using this, really. I very rarely used it because I just found it so annoying. So I was really pleased, because I didn't particularly twig, that they have changed it. And now you get just a normal base plate. Again, you might think, oh, but I would want the longer one. Well, you can get them if you want them. But personally, again, I've never really found that I need it longer than this. If I need it longer than this, I also need it wider, so I need the bigger machine anyways. Then you get this thin die adapter, which is great. Now this you do need whenever you're using your thin dies, so your normal thin metal dies. And as you can see, I just had a little test. And if you're new to die cutting, this is normal. This is what the cutting plates are for. Let me show you again. I'm assuming some of you are new to this, so please forgive me if you're not, but this is my old plates. And also notice that They're not massively so, but they are very slightly curved, because when they go through the machine, the pressure starts to build on them and starts to curve them. Now, if you make sure you swap them around, turn them over, you will find that that curvature is better. And also, I gave a tip for another machine, but it works just as validly on this machine, about making sure that your dies are slightly angled if they're like square dies or whatever, so that you're not hitting the rollers head on. That stops that pressure being quite so strong. So again, you just have this and these two plates. So what I wanted just was to show you guys, if you are new to die cutting, this is normal, because I know that I've heard, you know, in the past that newbies are suddenly see this and think, oh my God, what have I done wrong? And, you know, I've ruined the plates. No, you haven't. Now, what I wanted to do today was show you how this cuts as it is. And also, again, you guys that have been watching me for a while know I have a magnetic platform. So basically, it looks pretty similar to this. I'm just seeing if it's the same. It looks maybe, what do you think, slightly thicker? I think it looks slightly thicker, so I'm thinking that this might not need that thin plate adapter. We'll know pretty much straight away. So I thought we'd try it with this and see how it works, because I really love my magnetic platform. Okay, so I'm going to twist this around and let's see. So I've got just a regular spellbinders here. I thought that would be a good one to start with, just to try, because it's a nice little shape. It's not completely square, so it's got something of interest. It's a useful shape, so I can keep the actual die cut for future use, and we can see how it cuts. Now, when you're die cutting, I know a lot of people tend to try and keep one plate clear and one plate that they use for cutting. Personally, I would mix it up constantly, change the sides all the time, use both plates. It makes it last better, so it's quite handy to keep changing it around. Obviously at this point it's pretty new. I'm waiting for that to magnetize, because it looks like my magnetic platform and it's not. Now, this is almost like a square die, so as per my kind of video that I said about sort of tips to try and help keep our plates as long as possible, I'm just angling it very slightly as we discussed, and then we're just going to pop this through. Now, I always go back again. That's usually just because of the videos, but actually I do now think it's just helpful to be sure that it's cut through absolutely cleanly. And as you can see, that is a beautiful cut, and I'm hoping you can just catch this sort of like embossing around the edge there. Oh, there you go. So that's just come out gorgeous, and that's with our, oh, I should have said, in case you're new, I'm so sorry. So what we do is, when we die cut, we use these plates. These are called plates, all of these, and we create what we call a sandwich, basically, because it's like a sandwich, isn't it? Piece of bread, jam, butter, whatever. So in this case, our sandwich is the big thick base plate, our thin adapter plate, one cutting plate. These clear ones are called cutting plates. Then we put our piece of paper down, and then we put our die down, face down. That's how I do it anyway, and I like that because I can then see the position of my die on the paper, which I think is useful, particularly if you are doing multiple dies, or you are doing a pattern paper and you want it to specifically get a particular flower or a particular part of the paper. And that's another reason that some of the machines I don't like, because you have to have it the other way up, and that bothers me a lot. And then finally you pop this one on top, and then you just pop it through, and as I said, I then usually pop it back again. If it's a very detailed die, I might even do it a couple of times. Again, that's just personal. I want to be sure that it cuts nicely, all the detail. The area that's going to be the weakest is like this middle section. So sometimes what you find is that on a detailed die, that doesn't always cut through perfectly. All you need to do then is get like a bit of scrap paper, just put it over that area as an extra shim, and then that will give a little bit extra pressure. It's surprising how little thickness you need to create that extra pressure, and then that will usually just finish that little bit that you can't see. And the trick that I do if I want to check if something's cut is, say this is in here like so, then I take it very carefully, so I'm tight, holding these tight. I turn it over and I look and see if it's cut. Then you can see, if you're careful like that, it's not going to move. And if you've taped it, of course, it definitely won't move. And that way you get to see, has it cut all the way through? Again, beauty of having clear plates. Again, another reason why I like this machine, because the plates are clear and I can see what's going on. A lot of machines have white cutting plates. Not my personal preference. Okay, so that's that, but I wanted to do the die cutting using my magnetic platform. Now I think that we don't need this, so what I'm going to do is just create my sandwich without it. You can feel if it's too loose. If it's too loose, I'll put adapter plate down. So we're going to do my magnetic platform, which, as I said, I think is a little thicker. I'm going to switch it around now. I'm going to put the other plate at the bottom so it cuts into that one. We're going to put this very bright piece of paper down. Again, we're going to put my die down. Now you can see there, I don't know if you can see how it's sort of attracted because of the magnet. Boom. And then we're going to put this cutting plate on top. Now, I think that might be just a little bit loose, so let's see. It might be all right. It sounds like it's cutting, actually. I think that actually felt not too bad. So this is where I just said what I said to you. Look, I grab it, keeping it tight, I turn it over, and now I can see, because I can see through the plate, that this is actually cut beautifully. So we did not need the adapter plate if you were doing the magnetic platform. And then you just pop it out, and boom. There it is, cut beautifully, just as gorgeous as the first one. And by the way, the dies, I did say, but that was spellbinders. So just to show that you don't have to have like Sizzix dies, pretty much any thin die I've found will work. If it's, some are slightly different thicknesses, so some will be like a little bit sort of more of a push to go through, not like super difficult. If anything is like so hard that you're really cranking the handle, then something's wrong, so don't carry on. But oops, the other thing is sometimes they're slightly thinner, so it means that you're not getting the pressure. So again, just add a paper shim on top of your cutting plate and you'll find that that cuts through. I've rarely had to do that. I've got a million different dies. Again, if you've ever watched any of my lodge videos with my storage stuff and you looked at the die one, you know I've got so many different brands, and so far I haven't found anything that hasn't worked. And I actually got another one the other day that I don't think I'd used before. I'm sure they're perfectly well known, but I hadn't actually used it, and I tried that through as well and it came out gorgeous. It was this intricate one and it very detailed. It had a bit of issue in the middle here for the detail on the wings, only just a little bit. I just added a little shim down the center there, or I may have even just moved it over, I can't remember. I think I just added a paper shim down the side there and it came out gorgeous. I think it's in here, and I thought that came out really cut well. As I said, I just had to add a little shim just over where the wing area was, and it was literally just a very small part of it just that was in the middle. If I'd have probably positioned the die like over to the edge rather than right in the middle, I would have probably got that cut without the extra shim. So what it says for embossing is we basically are going to do the sandwich without our adapter. So we're just going to put our thick plate down. I don't know what they call that, just a platform, standard platform. Our cutting plate, our embossing folder, open that up. Again, I'm assuming most of you know this, but if you don't, salute. So we're popping the paper inside, closing that, putting that down next. Then we're popping that next on cutting plate on top, and then we just run this. Yeah, that's going to be right. You will learn, if you're new, that when you put it through, you'll learn the feel of the tension that you can feel on the handle, of what it needs, and what is right. That will take time. If you're new, you'll need to do a few, you'll need to get used to how things feel, but you will get used to that, and it will begin to help you. Anytime you're not sure, just stop. It's pretty hard to break these, to be honest. The way you'll break it is if you force it, and you really have to force it hard in order to do something bad. And you know, if you're pushing it that hard, you must know at that point that it's just not right. So here's our embossing folder. Hasn't that come out actually really nicely? And actually for me, I'm really pleased, because this is actually really simple, and because I think that was the other reason I never really embossed on here, because I didn't like this big plate thing. But with the plates like this, I find that a lot easier. So here we go, and that looked cool. So that's embossing. So you've seen what the more intricate die cut look like, you've seen how it works with the magnetic platform, and you've seen how embossing works. You've also got different types of dies that Sizzix do. I want to show you the bigs. Really helpful, not only for cutting your paper and your card, and you can cut quite a few layers in one go with that because it's a really thick, strong die, but also it cuts fabric. Great if you're into your patchwork. Like, I've got a lot of different shapes that work for patchwork, like your squares, your half squares, and it cuts it with the seam allowance there for you. Okay, so your big dies are basically these big fat dies, and so they've got this foam. The blade, or the metal, is a sharper blade, so watch that. Is inside the foam. It means you can cut probably, I think I've done up to like 6 or 7 layers of fabric even with it. I mean, it really does go through a lot of stuff. It's got all sorts of designs. So we've basically got here a 4-inch square, but it's cut at 4.5 inches so that you've got your seam allowance, and then you've got your half triangle, they call it, half square triangles, and it just makes it a lot easier for your patchwork. But also you can obviously use these shapes for your actual paper stuff as well. I mean, that's just a basic square at the end of the day, so that's kind of cool. The other thing is that Tim Holtz also does these big dies. This one is a whole load of tags. So basically for your big dies, it's pretty simple. You put your cutting plate, you put your whichever way up you want it, to be honest, it doesn't matter. That I'm going to do that way to continue the same theme. You put your big die, you put your piece of paper over the top. Again, if you want, you could get several different, like this has got several different tags on it, so you could get, you know, one colour there, and put that through. Then you just put another cutting plate on top, and then you just wind that, whoops, I need to move that out of the way because that's in my way, and then you just wind that through your machine. And I don't think I even need to go back, but I will. As you saw, it cut through perfectly the first time. I didn't even need to go back really. All these little tags and stuff, and just pull those out. So you've got all these, but you can see how easily that was. It's actually, I love using these because you literally just plate and cutting plate, bang, done. So that's that. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure that somebody's going to say I talk too long, and I'm really sorry if that's the case. I really just want to give a lot of information. So for those that don't like it, I'm really sorry. And I hope that both newbies and experienced crafters have enjoyed taking a look at this Sizzix. So I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you found it helpful. And thank you for watching. And I will see you again next week with a actual card making video. Thanks again, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Bye.